I'm a loyal person. And I didn't fully appreciate how much people wanted to know there was a difference between me and President Biden.
Love me or hate me, God knows you made it. We need ladies' eyes on me.
Hello everyone, my name is Rogan and this is the This Baby Gal podcast. On my platform, I do social commentary and reaction videos. I encourage my audience to have private conversations in public. First of all, let me just give my apologies if I sound really stuffy. I am battling a really bad cold, but I just had to do this video because Kamala Harris, former Vice President Kamala Harris, stopped by the lovely ladies of The View. I haven't done a video on them in a very long time. And she was promoting her latest book, 107, which of course is a nod to the amount of time that she had to prepare for the last year's election. And I'm not going to do a lot of talking. I'm going to jump right into this, but I just have to say, after watching her episode or watching her interview, I just felt like she was in denial about a lot of things and still really wasn't taking responsibility for the failure. But before I get started, I have to say that I'm going to be stopping this video frequently, and that's for a very intentional purpose. I know a lot of you guys hate that, but the reality is The View, which airs on ABC, is owned by Disney, and Disney is very proprietary when it comes to its property. So I can't just let a lot of these things ride. I noticed that some content creators can have like super long excerpts and not get demonetized or not get a copyright strike and all that stuff. I don't know how they're able to do it. Maybe I'm just too small of a platform. But I'm definitely going to just be stopping it as we go along just to kind of stay in the safe zone. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Madam Vice President, before the election, 2/3 of Americans felt that the country was on the wrong track, according to an NBC poll. On issues like the border, cost of living, the perception of crime, 43% of Americans felt like Joe Biden's policies had personally hurt them. Understanding that many people saw you as an extension of Joe Biden, were there glaring warning signs that when there's only two options to vote on that you missed going into Election Day?
You know, I write about it, as you all know, in the book, and I know that's probably the first chapter you read is my chapter on The View.
Okay, so that was a fair question, so let's see what her response is here.
But it really, the book is about a reflection. And that day in that interview, for me, really was symbolic of the issue. It did not create the issue, but it was symbolic of the issue, which is that I'm a loyal person. And I didn't fully appreciate how much people wanted to know there was a difference between me and President Biden. I thought it was obvious. And I didn't want to offer a difference in a way that would be received or suggested to be a criticism.
I'm going to stop right there and say, I understand that. I do get it. This was her boss. This was her friend. He chose her as his running mate. So people do feel a bit of conflict because they don't want to throw their friend, their boss under the bus. But here's the reality. You have a conversation with your friend and your boss when you are running for the highest office in the land. And you say, listen, they're going to ask me these questions because you have to anticipate every single thing that someone is going to say when you're going for the top role. It's like going for a job interview. And they're going to come at you at all angles, especially if it's a job like you're going to be making a lot of money or it's going to be a high profile job. They're going to come at you with some really big questions. So what you do is you sit down with your boss or your friend and you say, listen, I know they're going to ask me this question and I have to differentiate myself from you. It's nothing personal, but I am going to say some things that you might be uncomfortable with because yes, you can be loyal to your friend, but America wants to see you being loyal and having an allegiance to the people. And so in that moment for me, she chose her loyalty to Joe Biden over her willingness to show loyalty to the American people. Some of you might disagree with that. But if I'm saying, if you're angling for a job and I'm the one to give you the job, I don't need to hear that you're beholden to the person who I'm trying to get rid of. I need to hear that you are willing, you to separate yourself from that person so I can look at you differently, so I could possibly give you a chance to represent this role. If that makes sense to you guys. So I get it. I know a lot of people are criticizing her for saying that, you know, like really going in on her. But I think the human side of me remembers that, you know, people do have a sense of loyalty or allegiance to folks. And it's hard for them to just, you know, kind of just throw them under the bus. But I don't even look at it as throwing them under the bus. I look at it as, listen, this is the role. This is what's going to happen. These are the questions I'm going to get. And I want this position. So there are some things that I didn't agree with that you did, but you were the president and I was just your vice president. I was your second banana. So you did it how you needed to do it. And now I'm going to do it how I want to do it and say the things I need to say. So I think that happens when it's just a conversation with the person, you know? It's also like, and this is the last thing I'm going to say before I get back to the video, but it's like, I don't know if any of you have been in positions where you were friends with someone, and I've been in this position many, many times, where you were friends with someone and then you got promoted and all of a sudden that person has a lot of responsibility. And so the friend expects still to get certain favors or that sort of thing because you have a friendship. No, when you're now in that new position or angling for that position, you talk to your friend, you turn to your friend and you say, listen, all this stuff that you and I used to do as colleagues can't happen anymore because this is a new role for me. So I need you to understand that. I hope that makes sense. Let's continue.
And you know, in the campaign, full time, I was pointing out the differences. My theory of the case was we need to bring costs down. We're going to extend the child tax credit. We're going to have Medicare cover home health care for people, including people in the sandwich generation who are raising young children and taking care of their parents. It was about we're going to take on price gouging, bringing down costs. And I thought I was making the point. And I realize now that I didn't fully appreciate that how much of an issue it was.
I'm going to stop right there and say that she did highlight her platform and the things that she was going to do, but I don't think she did a great enough job of separating herself from Joe Biden, because you can't be out of the pool and in the pool at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So she didn't do a good job in that, in my estimation. I think she spent a great deal of time talking about how much of a threat Donald Trump was to the country. That's what I think a huge chunk of her focus was. And for me, sitting down as a voter, I really wanted to hear some differences. I wanted to hear, when I say differences not between her and Donald Trump, because he wasn't the president, but I wanted to know that what was continuing that there would not be a continuation of what we were witnessing or what we were experiencing. And I didn't feel, this voter didn't feel like that was happening enough. And again, y'all made it a two-person race. There are other people in the race. Y'all made it a two-person race. Just saying. Now, this part right here really took me out, and it has nothing to do with Kamala Harris. It has to do with my best friend, Sunny Hostin. You know how much I love her. But the lie that she just told right off the rip, take a listen.
That President Biden was deeply unpopular. I did realize that. And
when did she realize that? This is Sunny Hostin, who was badgering every single guest who came on, who had even a mild criticism of Joe Biden. And I mean, I feel like running the tapes. I don't got no time for that today. But she was badgering people who were like, I don't know about Joe Biden. I remember when Charlamagne was on from the Breakfast Club, was on the show, and she was like, help him out. And it's like, now in hindsight, you realize maybe he was a problem. But in that moment, you were gaslighting every single person into thinking that, no, Joe Biden's not the problem. You're the problem. You're not seeing and witnessing what you're witnessing. I like how people just engage in revisionist history. If I have the time, I'm going to just do a clip. If I have the time, that's a big if, to just put that statement, what she just made, alongside all of the other statements she's made about Joe Biden while he was running in the election, while he was in the campaign. That's just a bald-faced lie. Let me run that back.
Yeah, that President Biden was deeply unpopular. I did realize that. And during your appearance, and you write about it, you say, everything about my appearance on The View was going well until it wasn't. And if you recall, you were here 28 days before the election. And I asked you if there was anything you would have done differently than President Biden during the past 4 years. And you said, quote, there is not a thing that comes to mind, end quote. You write you had no idea, you just pulled the pin on a hand grenade. In the moment, I knew. The Trump campaign weaponized your answer against you.
Stop. I'm sorry. The Trump campaign did not weaponize her answer against him, against her. Every single human being who heard that response, and let me just narrow the focus to American voters, a lot of them were commenting hither, thither, and yon. All up and down social media, all across mainstream media, in the streets. Wait a minute, we're suffering under Biden, and this lady just admitted there's nothing she would have done differently? If she were president, there's nothing she would have done differently? It felt like it was going to be a continuation of the same. Any dingbat running against her would have used that. It ain't about weaponizing. It's like, hey guys, hey, I'm in the race and so is she. You all are suffering about what happened over here, but she's saying she wouldn't have done anything differently. Handle that. So anybody who was in a race and heard their opponents say that would have been like all over it. So that wasn't them just weaponizing anything. We gotta be straight about this stuff now. Come on.
My question. And some, including James Carville and Jake Tapper, point to that answer as a turning point in your candidacy. Do you think that moment tipped the election?
No.
Good, because Sonny doesn't want to take the blame.
She doesn't think that it tipped the election. Yo, it was stated properly. It was like like the pin was removed from the grenade. We knew it was a wrap from there. At least I felt like it was a wrap from there. There were a lot of folks saying it's going to be close. It was not. It was a blowout. And I think that right there, more than anything, I know a lot of people talked about her not being able to stay on script or, engaging in her word salads. And she does have a tendency to ramble and she cannot be herded to a conclusion. But that right there, I felt was a singular moment. That was one of the main moments, I should say, that made people go,
There was kind of a confessional happening here. No. Solve you? Exactly. I do believe one of the biggest deciders of the outcome of that election was that the American people were sick of things being so expensive.
Yes.
And wanted that the prices would come down. And that's where, this is part of why I wrote the book, which is let's remember in those 107 days what Donald Trump was talking about. Yeah. First of all, he said his number one priority and the number one thing he would do is bring down costs.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And I believe there are a lot of people who voted for him believing that that's what he would do. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to today.
Yeah. Hello.
Prices are higher. The cost of food is higher. Inflation is higher. Unemployment is higher. He lied.
Yeah.
He lied.
You know what? She's right. And you've got to be fair. Those tariffs are causing the cost of imported goods to increase, driving the cost of living up. Inflation is up. You have thousands of federal employees who were laid off, removed from the workforce. So, that's leading to an increase in unemployment. Oh, by the way, there are a lot of people, Democratic supporters, who were upset at Sunny Hostin for asking that question. Sunny's my best friend, so I'm going to defend her here. She had every right to ask that question. Because I've seen people say, oh, if Sunny hadn't asked that question, then, we could have possibly won and she wouldn't have tripped up and all that stuff. No, Sunny is a TV presenter. She's in the role of a journalist, a quasi-journalist, I suppose, in this moment. She's supposed to ask tough questions. She's supposed to ask uncomfortable questions. Your candidate is supposed to understand how to avoid those pitfalls or to just be honest. Which she was, I suppose. Well, I hope she was honest, because if she was dishonest and lying just to protect Joe Biden, it didn't work for her, right? But that is Sunny's job, to ask tough questions. It's not for your candidate to be shielded. You can feel when they go into these interviews. It's no different than when Fox, what's his name, Trump goes on Fox, or like Kamala goes on MSNBC. They get these softball questions. And so how are you doing? And how are you coping? Great intro questions, but let's get to it. Let's get to the tough questions. You know what I mean? And so, no. I don't disagree with Sunny for asking that question. And I don't even think she should feel bad about it. Kamala Harris is the one who failed. And she didn't answer the question appropriately. Anyway, let me know what you think about this interview. Like I said, I'm not putting the whole thing and I had to stop it. So thanks for bearing with me if you're still around. But let me know what you think about what Kamala Harris had to say. Do you plan on buying the book, The 107 Days? If you do, drop a book emoji down below in the comment section. Don't be shy. You know, we're all friends here. We family. Let me know what you think. I want to ask another question too. What do you think was the singular moment or the single moment that kind of cemented in your mind that she would not win or could not possibly win? Because it was a blowout. She lost. But let me know, what was that moment for you? Was it her stance on the border? Was it, her answer to The View? Was it she just was not a likable candidate? Was it that you didn't have any confidence in her leadership style or her leadership ability? What was the one thing that you could point to? Some of you, if you want to do a top 3, you can do that as well. But let me know what that was for you. And I will see you all in my next episode. Hopefully I feel better really soon. Thank you so much. Oh, by the way, follow me on my blog, thisbahamiangal.com. Follow me on Instagram at thisbahamiangal. Same thing. This Baby Gal TBG on Instagram. Oh God, my brain is in such a fog. This Baby Gal TBG on TikTok, and of course, listen to the podcast version on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And if you are listening on the podcast, please go to youtube.com/thisbabygal to watch the video. I will see you all in my next episode. Thank you so much. I love you. Toodles.